Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Today is Wednesday, and we're going to be going over law number 18, the law of sacrifice. I'm going to throw out some invites right now, bring some people on. Appreciate everybody for jumping on here real quick for their lunchtime. Hope everyone is doing well. Alex, what's happening? Lori, how are you? Bess, hello, how are you? Bringing her on. Becky's with us. Hello. Larry's with us. What's happening, sir? We are ready to roll.
Hi, Jeff. How are you today?
Good.
Glad everybody's here. Thank you for joining us. Today is a real fun one, a real fun law. The law of sacrifice. Doesn't that sound lovely? But actually it is, so we'll explain that. We are Bess McCarty of MLM Millionaire Club and Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network. And Jeff is also gratefully a certified John Maxwell trainer. So we're able to bring you these 21 laws of irrefutable laws of leadership by Maxwell. And our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. So we just love that you are here. You must have the same purpose to develop yourself as a leader. And all of these things have helped me to be a better person, not only, a teacher, friend, everything. So I just really am grateful for these. If you're watching the replay, please type in replay. And we'd love to know where you're from. And if you know someone who could benefit from this, go ahead and tag them and let them know that this is going on. So, Jeff, let's hear about this this really attractive law, law of sacrifice.
Yeah, this is almost one you want to skip, right? You're like, I don't know about this one. So it says when you become a leader, you lose rights about only thinking for yourself. So this is really the law of thinking of others first. The law of sacrifice. It says, learning the law of sacrifice, a leader must give up to go up. The best example I can give is something that actually personally happened to me. I knew that I was running and I wanted to hit a certain level and I wanted to be able to maintain it. And knowing to be able to maintain that level inside of direct sales, I knew that there needed to be a weekly event. It just so happened that the best day to run a weekly event was going to be Tuesday. And now here's the reason behind that. Living in the Midwest and, throughout the United States, if you happen to be in the United States, you have to kind of put things where they make sense, where you're going to get the best bang for the buck, you might say. So we started looking at the calendar, and traditionally Monday nights are Monday Night Football. And in the Midwest, we're in the heart of Colts. When I decided to make this run inside of direct sales, the Colts had just won the Super Bowl. So it was kind of one of those things I was like, really? Monday night was going to be the most appropriate night for me, because I didn't watch football. Not that I hate it. It was just not something that I followed. So I was looking and I was like, what makes sense for people? And I was like, well, Monday night would be, and people's eyes when I mentioned Monday night, they're like, you're going to do a meeting on Monday night competing against football? That's interesting. They were saying, heck no, that'll never work out. Josh Boxon, what's happening, sir? So Monday Night Football wasn't going to work. So I said, okay, well, let's think about Wednesday. And they said, well, Wednesday, traditionally in the Midwest, people are attending church. They have school, they have PTO. There's all these different events that happen Wednesday. So it really did make sense that a Tuesday evening event was going to make the most sense. The problem is Tuesday evening, I had been playing in a competitive soccer league for about 5 years. So for me, I was going to have to give up playing. It was also where the majority of the friends that I had at that point were. So I was going to basically not only give up an activity, but I was going to give up hanging out with the majority of the people that I wanted to hang out with. So that way I could build a business that would make sense and help a marketplace and help everybody else. So I ended up, you know, going in and telling everybody. And I remember the look on people's faces. They're like, not only did I play on Sunday or on Tuesday, I also played Friday, which I gave up because I was giving up Thursday lunch. So that way we could do a luncheon. I gave up Friday. I gave up all of my, I played like 3 to 4 games on Sunday. I gave up all of Sunday because Sunday I needed to start promoting a call. So that way I could reach people for Sunday night's call in this one particular company that I was in. So I ended up giving up, you know, the entire organization, everything that I was doing. And I hung up my cleats and I said, this is what I need to do right now. And the reason being is for me to get to the next level, it required me to give up that time. Most people have no idea, you know, what I gave up. They just knew that I showed up to this other event for them. And people casually strolled in, you know, and again, it's like you have to do what's best for the people, even though they don't know that that's what's best for, you know, what's going on. It's just what it takes. So that's basically what we had to do. There is no success without sacrifice. So I knew certain people that were like, oh, I really, really want to come, but that night I'm watching Lost, you know, because Lost was really big at that time. You know, that was a show about a fat guy on an island that still remained fat on an island with no food after years. And there was a girl with like really light complexion. I'm like, they live on an island. She still doesn't have a tan, but people would like choose Lost over their own success, which is coincidental and ironic at the same time. Leaders are often asked to give up more than other people. So if you want to lead a group, if you want people to follow you, you're probably going to have to give up a whole lot more than what you can possibly imagine. You know, there's just certain things that I made decisions on to be able to go up, and you will have to do the same. If you want the organization to grow out past you, there's things you're going to have to give up that you will not like. There's the majority of things you probably aren't going to like. They're not going to be convenient. They're not even going to be fun. But that's what it takes as a leader to get to where you need to go. Now, here's the thing that I was taught inside of direct sales, which is different for most organizations. You give up temporarily to gain back everything. So that's what I knew is I was going to give back temporarily for 2 to 5 years. If I got this going, see what I had to do is I had to raise the lid of my own leadership. So that way I could raise the lid of other people's leadership. So that way I could replace myself in the marketplace. And eventually we built speakers. We built trainers. Where, you know, there were several times I had to be gone in California where the meeting went on without me. In most marketplaces, if the leader leaves, the market dies. You know, there is nobody else there to run things. So that was, you know, something that we had to implement in is not just to get to a point where we had an event, but then we had to train people to replace ourselves so that way we could leave. So the cost of leadership, it says as your rights basically, you know, your rights go down and your responsibilities go up. That's kind of how leadership works. As you become a better leader, your rights go down. Now, the reason your rights go down is because now you're focused on your people more than you are your own personal wants and gains. Now, direct sales works a little bit different than this because the larger your organization gets, typically the more freedom you're going to have if you train people, if you replace yourself in that marketplace. I had a good friend and mentor in one of the companies that I was in. He said, you know, the ultimate goal is to create 100 meetings like the one you have with 100 leaders running each meeting. He goes, at that point, no matter what happens, your income goes on regardless of what happens in the country, what happens in the economy, what happens, you know, personally. But he's like, it's going to take you a good 5 years. It's going to take you a good 5 years to accomplish that. That's just what it takes. So kind of an interesting, you know, a mentality, a way to look at things. So as you rise in leadership, your responsibilities increase, your rights decrease. The heart of leadership is sacrifice. The heart of leadership is sacrifice. It's doing what's best for the team over what's best for you. So before we finish this lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Bess and kind of get her insights on learning the law of sacrifice.
Yes, so Jeff, I always remember your soccer story and I apply that to my life. I remember you telling that before and that has inspired me to make some decisions that I am making now. I'm sacrificing certain things in order to bring these classes to people that we're doing because that's real important to me, that this gets out and it reaches people and people and that they can make the breakthroughs that they are longing for. that they need to make. First, I just want to say hi to Julie and Lucy and Jennifer, and thank you all for jumping on here. And so how sacrifice? One definition is trading something of value that you have for something of greater value that you don't have yet. And on an even further note, that thing that you may not, the thing of greater value, it's possible that may not even benefit you. It's possible that may benefit your family down the road, that you'll leave them a legacy in your business. Or it's possible that it will benefit your team as an ongoing thing even after you pass on, or maybe benefit people watching you and getting inspired. So in network marketing, of course, it does benefit us immediately because we feel good giving, right? So that's the immediate benefit. But the more obvious one may come down the road, may benefit other people bigger than you. And a great example of this is Martin Luther King. In the book, John Maxwell's book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, which the free version of that, it's not an updated, but a free version of that it will be in the links for you if you'd like to follow along with these lessons. But in today's lesson about the law of sacrifice, he tells about Martin Luther King. And his wife tells a story, Coretta King. She, after his death, she said, the phone would ring day and night with obscene threats and threats to kill us if we didn't get out of town. Their house was bombed. Martin Luther King himself was jailed many times. He was stoned. He was stabbed. He was physically attacked. And yet his vision, if anything, and his influence got greater and greater. And his wife said, in spite of all this going on, she said, I felt inspired and almost elated by the vision that was carrying them. In Martin Luther King's last speech, he said, it doesn't matter anymore what happens to me. I just want to do God's will because I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. Of course, he was fighting for equality, being a Black person. So the very next day, he gave up his life. And his vision continued. And he was right. He was right. That carried on. And look at all the people that I think wherever he is now, that he feels great about that, about what happened. I don't know too many network marketers that have given up their life for the cause. So fortunately, or whatever, we're not really required to do that. In fact, a lot of network marketers have become healthier and happier because they have the time freedom and the money freedom, and they have more time, quality time to spend with their families, and greater health usually as a result. But first, to get there, there's some sacrifices to, again, sacrifice the lesser for the greater. They say that you can tell the maturity of a child if you offer him, do you want 1 cookie now or 3 cookies in 5 minutes? And so the child who is, I've seen videos of this too, some kids just can't resist. They're sitting there and they could eat that cookie or they could not eat it, wait 5 minutes and they'll get 3 cookies. Some kids just sit there and they just, their fingers creep toward it and they pull them back and they creep toward it. And some just grab it and eat it and they can't wait anymore, But there are a few who just sit back and say, I want 3. I want 3. So they're sacrificing the 1 to get the 3. And that is the good half of this law of sacrifice. Yes, we're giving up something now, but we're getting, in the long run, it's better. It's cool. So that's what makes this attractive to me. And have some more ideas to share, but I'll go back to Jeff here.
So with that, leading others, if you want to lead others to this law, you must keep giving up to stay up. So there's going to be things that were required of you ongoing that you're going to have to give up. There'll be time sacrifices. I knew to build my business, there were things that I was just going to have to give up. I needed to make a commitment. Think about this. You need to make a commitment to your business like you'd make a commitment to a job. Does a job care if it's your birthday? No. Does your job care if it's an anniversary? No. Does your job care if somebody is homesick? No. So to be able to build a successful network marketing business, you have to treat it, watch this, you have to treat it like a job until it pays you like a business. But what most people do is they treat it like a external hobby, sort of, not even a hobby that they're paying for, that they're realizing they're paying for. And what happens is everything, watch, everything you do in business compounds where everything you do at your job actually retracts. And what I mean by compounds, the good compounds and the bad actually multiplies. So whatever people see you do, they will do half of. Whatever people see that you don't do or do wrong, they'll actually multiply that. So it is a monkey see, monkey do business. What people see you do, they will only do part of. If it's good, if it's bad, they'll multiply it. So if you start skipping, they'll start skipping. If you show up, you know, haphazardly, they'll show up haphazardly. If you have a bad attitude, they'll have 3 times the bad attitude that you have. People don't like that, and people are like, well, they should just be responsible. No, you should be responsible if you're the leader. So it's actually very difficult to get a group of people on the right page all at the same time. And these are lessons that have to be taught both inside the event and outside the event. That's why we only let certain people, watch this, we only let certain people greet. We only let certain people at the table, you know, because the table where people walk up and actually sign in is one of the most important person, because that's who every single person sees every single week. You know, and sometimes it's worth, you know, hey, this person, you know, the staff, the people who help out should be able to, you know, have certain perks inside the event. Successful leader must maintain an attitude of sacrifice to turn their team around. 4, the higher the level of leadership, the greater the sacrifice. So as you go up, the more sacrifice that's actually required. And the main thing is just having conversations. Hey, if I want to go up, there's certain things I'm going to have to give up. You know, what are those things? And being able to write them down. This is why a mentor is so important. This is why a coach is so important, is understanding what you, because sometimes you don't even know what you have to give up. That's where I was in the beginning. I didn't even know what I was supposed to give up. I kept talking about, hey, there needs to be an event. There needs to be a meeting. It needs to be able to run like this. Not realizing that I was probably the person who was supposed to start it if I was the one who knew the problem. So 5, if you're enjoying success today, someone has gone through it before and already paid the price. And that sometimes you don't realize. I was having a great conversation with a friend of mine who their team actually broke apart simply because the company made some big changes. And anytime a company makes big changes, you usually have changes in, you know, in teams. And it just so happened that several of the leadership decided that where they were at was no longer where they wanted to be, and they made a choice to change and go to another company. And that just happens. You know, it's something that you will deal with inside of just basically every company you're ever in. And if it doesn't happen above you, it'll happen below you, which is even just as painful, if not more. But it does happen. Why? Because people change teams, and that happens inside of all sports. That happens inside of all companies. You know, certain people even transfer from McDonald's to Burger King. Certain people inside of Microsoft transfer to Apple. Certain people in the NFL team, you know, we just had LeBron James transfer from what? Cleveland out to LA. It happens in every industry. So it will also happen inside of direct sales. If your upline doesn't do it, your team will do it. It's just something that happens, and you have to learn how to deal with this. Some companies don't talk about it at all. I was taught by one of my mentors, he's like, be happy for everybody's success. He's like, always treat people right, because the majority of new companies, you know, brand new companies don't make it. He goes, if you treat people wrong, they're not coming back to you. If you treat people right, they're going to come back. So we were having this conversation with a team that's actually existed now for 20 years. And that's pretty a long time inside of direct sales. I mean, you can get wealthy in the industry in 2 to 5 years. It takes 10 years for most people. It takes a decade for most people to break the 6-figure mark. In fact, there's a study done that said if you get with a solid company and you're there 10 years, statistically, the people who are there with the same company 10 years working do make 6 figures in the industry. That actually comes from the Direct Sales Association. So we were just discussing this one particular person and a friend of mine that has, you know, that has this, you know, amazing team, that has these amazing people. And, you know, there were a couple people above this gentleman that left in between him and the real leader. And he goes, I didn't realize until that person was gone how much they affected the team. I didn't realize how much they did. I didn't realize how many calls they made. I didn't realize how much belief they injected into the team. I didn't realize how many people he asked that asked questions to him and he answered, and I never had to stop and think about all the stuff that he was doing until he was gone. And once he was gone, I realized that I didn't have a relationship above that. I knew the people, but I didn't have a relationship. I wasn't on the phone with them regularly because he was handling so many things. Sometimes loss puts you in a situation where you have to grow. So just because somebody, walks and something happens, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's also not a bad thing to learn these lessons yourself. It's a hard lesson to learn. It's a hard lesson to learn when your mentor or somebody that's helping you is no longer there. Hopefully they learn the 21 laws of leadership well enough that they're willing to help regardless. I still have friends that are in other companies that I no longer participate with that will call me, and I'll still help them because it's the right thing to do. I learned this from one of my mentors. I was like, Tim, a friend of mine, Tim, that's, made $1 million in 5 different companies. He's been in network marketing. I think it was like 12 years, but in 12 years, he was in 5 different companies and made $1 million in each one. I really don't know anybody who's done that to date, that's done it that many times. And not necessarily good that happened. It's just he climbed to the top and realized it was not really where he wanted to be. So he had the ability to move on. And I was like, Tim, why do so many people follow you? Why do so many people follow you? If you go somewhere, how do you have that? He goes, well, because I help everybody. He goes, yeah, it takes time away from what I'm doing. He goes, but it's the right thing to do. He's like, there were so many people like me when I first got started that I didn't know what to do, and I really didn't have that mentorship. So I want to be able to help these people regardless. And he goes, because I help these people regardless, and watch this, and because their upline doesn't take the time, if I ever go, I always get calls. I always get calls. He goes, the majority of the people that I've recruited, I don't call. They call me. They call me. So I think it's a good lesson to learn, not necessarily about the switching, but it's a good lesson to learn about how to build and what to do is you're there to help. Now, if you haven't done anything yet, that's also a crutch. Some people will spend the majority of the time trying to help other people. And I'm like, how many people have you personally recruited? They're like, none or one. And I'm like, so you're spending the majority of the time trying to help new people. I said, do you realize this new person has out recruited you? So what could you possibly be teaching them, about recruiting? So you kind of have to keep that in mind, be intelligent about it. Marty, what's happening? See a couple other people. Benny's jumped on here as well. Appreciate it. That's what I have for this week or today's law of sacrifice. When it comes to doing the right things is you don't realize what you might already have until it's gone. And you want to do, the key thing is do more. You can probably do more inside of your own team than you're doing now. You can help more than what you're helping now. So that's what I would, focus on.
Okay, I would like to say hi to Benny, Monica, Athena, the people who just jumped on. Thank you very much for joining us today and for doing this. So here's another little thought. Sometimes we are required to give up things in ourselves that might be hard, like our pride, our ego, chasing shiny objects, procrastination, or even discouragement, maybe about losing a leg. One fellow, he called me up and goes, well, I'm not, we talked and he said, well, I'm not in MLM anymore because I lost a whole leg to the Philippines. And I got so discouraged that I just quit. And this was like 2 years ago. And I just said to myself, he'll be back. Just give him time to heal. But who could resist? He wants to get it in your blood and the beauty of this business. But he will be out of the game until he gives up his discouragement, until he sacrifices his disappointment and his hurt that he has to rebuild again. So sometimes what we sacrifice or what we lose might be a chance to rebuild again. Like Jeff said, many people have rebuilt again. Eric Worre mentions, 8 times he built and lost, built and lost, and he just kept rebuilding. So, think about giving up or sacrificing discouragement, disappointment, fear of rejection, procrastination, our pride for something greater. And one way to get over fear or to sacrifice the fear of making calls is to think about the person that you're calling that needs you, that needs to find out about your product or service and about your business to make their health, their life, or whatever better. There's people out there who need you. So that's the same thing. We remove the focus from ourself to the greater good of the whole. And but when you do lose something, it hurts, right? I heard this saying, I just love it. When the heart cries for what it's lost, soul laughs for what it's gained. Because we become a better person, we get to step up, we get spiritual, a chance to develop that spiritual muscle, get back in the game, get up again. So just to recap real quick, what I heard this morning is there's no success without sacrifice. Put the team ahead of self. Keep giving to stay up. And the higher the leader, the greater the sacrifice. So here's 3 tips. Write down what you're willing to give up in order to get what you don't have yet. Number 2, write what you are prepared to offer, like time, energy, resources, for something that you want, something of greater value. I remember Napoleon Hill said that. And number 3, eliminate thinking that I'm just going to sacrifice just for now. Even though you might, do a 90-day run or, a certain time for a few years, then you can throttle back. But eliminate thinking that sacrifice is going to end one day. And just realize, write a statement of ongoing growth. Imagine ongoing growth to help change that thinking. And anything else, Jeff?
Yeah, so Lucy asked, how do you give up procrastination? There's a couple things that probably will help. Number one is, A, you have to have a goal, and B, you have to have accountability. The reason most of us, are procrastinators is because there's nobody really there that's, on us or tracking or asking the question, what have you done? When you leave it up to your own self, you'll always resort back to what you do. The reason being is you basically stay inside a comfort zone where nothing else ever changes. Our basic human instinct is basically getting in that comfort zone and not changing. So the only way to change from procrastination is actually to have a system that consistently pushes you outside of that. And if you don't track it, there's absolutely no way, because your brain will automatically trick yourself back into that comfort zone every time. So the only way is a system and accountability. The best way to get that accountability is either to be with a group of people who are accountable to each other, and or a coach or mentor that's helping you do that. Most people always resort back to what they always do, which is stay in the comfort zone, little to nothing. So I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm. And my tip is to think of the people. That gets the attention off self. And it said that fear is a selfish act or selfish emotion. Fear is thinking of me, or procrastination is maybe I'm assuming that it's due to fear, or why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we serve? So I handle that by thinking of the good that I could have done today. And if I go to bed and I didn't do that good or reach out to these people, what a loss that is. So any other questions, you guys, or comments or takeaways? When have you experienced sacrifice? How has that worked out for you? Love to hear your story now, or if you're watching the replay, let's keep this conversation going. System and accountability. Yeah, Benny, thank you. Having an accountability partner, upline, mentor, coach, crossline even. I've seen crosslines become great accountability partners for each other. I love working with Jeff because we get to banter back and forth and say, hey, this wonderful thing happened. Or one time I called him and I said, hey, I'm stuck here. Can you help me through this point? It's kind of, I'm stuck. So he did. He right away. Thank you so much for that. And Julie says, I'm willing to sacrifice time with my daughter's family, husband, loved ones to offer myself as accountability partner for my team so we can stay focused and get out of our comfort zones. Thank you, Jeff and Bess, for keeping us out of our comfort zones and focusing on the people of our team. I guess that's what this is about. This whole leadership thing is about, right? Make us bigger and greater. Thank you so much for your comments, Julie and Lucy and Benny, and your tips. If you're not yet a member of the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, or you know people who would like to be, I bet everybody here knows at least 3 people who would like to know about our shows and about the group. So you can tell them, just go there and request membership, and then I can add them. Even if they're not friends with me, if they request it there, then I can add them in real easily. I have a question. Please do type in your questions now, or your takeaways, or your insights or gems for us, quotes or anything like that. In the meantime, I have a question for you guys. How can we make these shows better for you? How can we make them more relevant, fun, easy to learn, experiential even? I'm always seeking as a teacher to do this better, help people learn better. So I would love if you all have any tips. How could we do these better for you? I appreciate any advice, any tips. Jeff, what do you think?
And again, like always, we want to, like, share. That's what we ask of you is, to like, share, comment, send this to somebody who needs to hear it. If you know other people in direct sales who are struggling, or somebody who wants to build a team of any kind, whether that be real estate or, direct sales and network marketing. We talk with people in just about every different background building teams. Although this is specific to direct sales, we'd appreciate it to get it out to, more people. We appreciate you guys for jumping on, making your comments, asking your questions, because, it's a learning process along the way. So we hope this is helping. If it is, we'd love to, get your insight on, any takeaways that you have. What have you learned specifically from these trainings or stuff that we've gone over? What's your biggest takeaway so far? So again, tomorrow we're going to be here at the exact same time, 12 noon. And tomorrow we're going over law number 19. Today we were covering the law of sacrifice. So we're wrapping up the series here. Tomorrow is the law of timing. Timing is everything, as they say. So that's going to be a really, really good one. And it's actually a kind of a long one. So, make sure you get in early. Make sure you got, notes and a pen and paper, because there's a ton of information tomorrow that we're going to go over. So we appreciate you guys so much for being on. Bess, I'll turn it back over to you to close out.
Well, when we do close out this series, we're going to start all over again, which I'm so happy, because it's going to be an ongoing rolling series, because I learn something deeper every time. There's so much to learn in each single chapter and each single law that, over time, I want to improve 1%, because that means in a year I'll improve 365%. So I just want to get one good thing from every session, every show, and we hope that you do too. Thanks, Jeff.
So with that, it says, we got a compliment. Bess, you're amazing. Thanks for giving us Unstuck. Amazing leadership. So thank you, Julie, for that tip and insight. And Benny says, amen about timing. Yes, sir. So tomorrow we'll get on that right away. Again, you can find us online at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. You can head on over to our Facebook page, request to be part of that, ask questions. Again, we ask it for non-company specific, non-product specific, no names, no companies. That's what we ask of you guys, just to keep it generic, so that way we can have discussions, talk about this. Everybody is safe in the environment. This isn't a recruiting platform, no links, and no leading people off the page, because that's obviously not helping in what we're trying to get done. So appreciate everybody so much, and we will see everyone tomorrow, Thursday, for law number 19. Thank you.